Hi Woodside family, it's Chris Konig here, and I'm here with somebody who I know pretty well, and who you guys probably know pretty well too, so I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi Woodside, I'm Katie Konig, Chris's sister, and normally I'm living in Africa, serving with Liebenzell mission, and yeah, I'm here to share a little bit about what that's been looking like.
Katie's one of our sponsored missionaries through the church. And she was scheduled to come home this year anyways, but how did that change with COVID hitting?
Well, COVID in Malawi is very different from COVID here. In Malawi, they can't do a lockdown because most people earn the money they need to survive every day, so they have to continue working. And a lot of people didn't understand the issue with COVID and would just say, well, I'm not sick right now, so I'm fine. And trying to help them understand that you can be sick for weeks before showing any symptoms was really difficult. And 80-something% of the country live in villages without power for the most part, or running water. And so distance ed is not a thing. So when the schools shut down, that just means children don't get to go to school.
And what about for you? What did COVID mean for you?
I have an autoimmune condition, so I tried to be really careful about who and how I exposed myself, so I mainly stayed home, which is fine. I have a pretty big yard and was able to self-isolate there with some friends dropping by with food and stuff from the market, and yeah, it was okay. My team have found it difficult to work with COVID because a lot of our work is village-based and a lot of our staff live in the cities and towns, so it's hard to judge whether we should be going out to the villages or not, and how to continue our work if we're not going out.
So on that front, what were you doing for your last term there?
So I was the bookkeeper for the team. I did a lot of the admin work, spent a lot of time in banks and tax offices of the government, and work on the computer, which is why I was able to work from home and self-isolate so well. Just supporting the rest of the team in their work. So we have a school in basically a desert village, and community development project there. And we have a pastor training center in another village and a radio station that we've partnered with Operation Mobilization on in the language of the Muslim tribe. And then we have a city team that's starting up and having some young adults coming from around the world to serve in country for short-term missions.
And so is that something you're going to be involved in next time you go, or what will you be doing next time?
I actually get to go back and focus on language learning. While I've been in Canada, my team has figured out a way to hand over bookkeeping to a Malawian, which is really exciting. I spent a lot of time streamlining the bookkeeping and admin work. For example, the tax paperwork used to take 7 work days to do, and I've got it down to less than 2. So did a lot of streamlining there.
Excel.
Yes, Excel instead of Word for math. That's a plus. And so we're able to hand over to a Malawian now, which means that I will be freed up to do other things. And I haven't yet actually had a really good chance to learn the local language. So that's going to be my focus for the next few years.
And you've been home since July?
Yeah, I've been in Canada since July. Primarily just hanging out with my parents in Parry Sound. Seeing my family every once in a while when they can make it up here. And just having some connections with supporters, whether that's in person or on Skype or Zoom, or writing cards to people. Furlough looks a little bit different than it would normally. And a lot of doctor's appointments, which is why I'm still here. I was supposed to be going back in January. And that has been delayed because I have an appointment coming up in February with a specialist. So hopefully the specialist will be able to give a diagnosis or rule out a diagnosis, and then I'll be able to get on the road. But part of the problem with that is that Malawi is experiencing their second wave of COVID right now and have just re-locked down. So I'm not sure whether the airports will be open again by the time I'm able to go, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm. So in the last, how long has it been? 2 or 3 years? 3 years?
Yeah.
In the last 3 years, what's a major way that you've seen God at work?
Many ways. One of the constant struggles with my team has been getting staff. Because our projects are out in villages, the one with the school is 45 minutes down dirt to get there, and then once you're on tar, it's at least another 45 minutes to an hour and a half to the nearest bigger village or town where you can get supplies. So it's hard to get staff who are willing to live out there and work out there, both foreigners and Malawians. And we have been really, really lucky. We have 2 new missionary families coming in the next 2 years. And of course, there was me and another single lady and another couple that came 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And so the team, after a decade with no new missionaries, is suddenly booming. So that's really exciting. And local staff, we keep finding amazing Christian teachers to work at our school and who are willing to move out to the middle of nowhere because they have the heart for the mission that we have there to teach these Muslim Malawian children who don't have much of a chance. They want to change their futures. So it's really heartwarming every time we get new staff like with that heart for mission to their own people. And also COVID sort of related. My mom came to visit me in February and she had a concussion. We weren't sure whether she'd be able to come. And then got clearance from her doctors a month before and ended up coming and got to show her all the projects and my favorite places, introduce her to the people and places I love so much. And she flew out of Malawi the beginning of March and got home 3 days before lockdown restrictions started to be put in place. Now, she did catch COVID on the plane, so I still feel very guilty about that. But
Recovered. She's full recovery.
She's recovered. But yeah, and when I came home on furlough, we were concerned that I would have the same experience. And I've had some lung infections before and the autoimmune disease, and so we were concerned that I might get sick, but managed to get here completely healthy. So
it's an answer to prayer.
Yeah, it's a big answer to prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also, I mean, the airports were locked down from April until September, except for 1 chartered flight per month. And so me getting on a chartered flight out was amazing. We weren't sure if there would be any flights out of the country. So
I guess that leaves us with a lot. How can we, as Woodside family, pray for you?
For the health concerns that my doctors can figure out what's going on, whether or not I need a new diagnosis or medication, so that I can get back on the road. I miss home, so I want to head home. And yeah, that the language learning would go well and I'd be able to figure out the next steps there. I'm not sure what my life will look like in 2 years once I'm done language learning. We're not sure how the service that I do is going to look, so that's something the team and I are still exploring. And well, I've had something written down that I've forgotten. Oh yes, well, I did a lot of work the last 3 years and not a lot of relationship building and community building, so that I would find a good community to really invest time into. This time when I'm back, I have some really good friends and most of them are my grandparents' age and I love them. They're wonderful, wonderful people, but I would also like to find some friends who are closer to my age.
Well, Woodside, it's always good to sit and talk with one of our missionaries. I know it's hard to sometimes think of them, to consider them when we're praying, because we don't see them every day. But especially with these online services, this has been a way that we can easily see them and remember they become part of our church service again. And they are part of our church family, or our direct family, if you're lucky. So please keep Katie in your prayers and think of the other missionaries in our congregation and remember to pray for them. They have similar struggles in a totally different place in this world.